Today we are talking about something that so many women are experiencing, but we don't always get clear answers to.
Hmm.
And that is managing menopause and perimenopause in a way that actually supports our whole body. So I am joined today by a naturopathic doctor, Dr. Alex Dragan, who specializes in hormonal health. Hello,
Absolutely.
Dr. Alex.
Hello. Nice to be with you. I'm excited.
Yes, and if any of you don't know me yet, I am Jen Casey. I am a holistic nutritionist and I specialize in recipes and meal plans for midlife wellness in particular.
Amazing.
So together, Dr. Alex and I will be answering the questions that women are actively searching for, and we'll be cutting through some of the noise and the fears and the confusion so you can feel more confident advocating for yourself and for your own health in what I like to think of as our best years yet.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Upgrade.
I'm in menopause. I'm 52. I'm through the fire, as I call it,
Yeah.
um, and I'm feeling good.
Good.
I'm feeling good, but there's a lot of questions.
There is.
I don't know if I mean, menopause is having a moment, right? And I
Yes.
don't know if we're just more open to talking about it because it's not like a new thing. It's not like
Yeah.
all of a sudden we're in, menopause is a new
Yeah.
condition or whatever you want to call it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think we're just more open to talking about it now, which is fabulous, right? There's amazing books out there now that even celebrities are contributing to, and like everyone's just like, yeah, I'm in menopause.
Yeah.
So here we are.
I know. I think
So
I was listening to something recently that was talking about how in school, we learn about the menstrual period. We learn about, periods and how to deal with that, but nobody ever really talks about menopause. I mean, obviously, if you're learning that in high school, it's probably, in one ear out the other,
yeah,
but it's not even mentioned, right? So I think a lot of women, even still now, even though we're in this menopause sphere, I still get women coming in and they're like, I don't know what's going on with my body. They've maybe never even heard the term perimenopause before,
yeah.
right? So there's still a lot of education to be done.
And that's a good place to start. So
Mhm.
let's start with, what are some of those signs and symptoms of menopause as a whole, or should we break it down into perimenopause and then menopause and then postmenopause?
Yeah, maybe we can kind of separate it. So,
Okay.
I mean, the first thing is the definitions. I mean, menopause is 12 months without a period. It's kind of a retroactive. Once you've reached that 12 months, 1 year, no period, you are menopausal and you're in the postmenopausal years. If you don't have a uterus, some women have had hysterectomies or maybe they're not bleeding for whatever reason, they have an IUD or they've had some sort of ablation to the uterus, you can test menopause with a hormonal test. So that can be confirmed if you don't have the feedback of a period or not.
Okay.
Perimenopause is the time leading up to that. So that can last anywhere from like 2 years to 10 years, right? That can start in the late 30s. And that's another big myth that I hear a lot is women think that menopause happens in your 60s and 70s
Right.
when in reality it's starting in your late 30s, early 40s. And you can be fully menopausal by age 45 and that be perfectly normal.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's not
There's no
too early.
set. There's no like rule. Like, okay, you're 45. You're in.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm hearing from a lot of women that they're going to their doctors,
Yeah.
explaining some of these symptoms that they're feeling. And from my experience, it's kind of like not the calm before the storm, but the other way around. Like perimenopause is the roller coaster, right? It's like erratic periods. Maybe there's two in a month. Maybe you're missing one. Maybe they're heavier than normal, and you're getting all these symptoms, and they're going in asking, hey, am I in menopause? And they're getting sort of brushed off, or
Mhm.
because tell me if I'm wrong, there isn't a test for perimenopause,
No,
right?
there
Yeah.
is not. Yeah.
So you're just relying on symptoms. And if you're feeling those symptoms, it's safe to say that you're in perimenopause. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that, a big um, a lot of people come to me because I have a focus in women's health and they want to test their hormones. And that's where the education part comes in. Sometimes testing hormones makes us more confused because it's like this, right? You can have one day high estrogen and the next day you're no estrogen. So it's important to rule out other conditions because, you know, you might have a thyroid condition or you might be struggling with other things that can look similar to perimenopause. But as you said, there's no test for perimenopause. It's a clinical diagnosis. So it's based only on symptoms and making sure we're ruling everything else out that, you know, could overlap. So definitely are some overlaps.
Awesome. So let's talk about the symptoms. Now, not that everyone wants to hear my big long story, but I've had the strangest symptoms that I didn't think of prior to, I didn't think of them being part of menopause until I got them. Like my ears were so itchy. Of course, there's the typical brain fog, memory loss. I walk into rooms, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have to like make lists. Not only night sweats, but all day sweats. I was carrying a fan with me for a while.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a little bit past that now. And of course, the belly fat deposition, right? It's like the whole body composition has changed and everything's just going straight to the middle, right? Yeah. So do all women experience symptoms? And what makes them worse? What makes them better? And will they ever end? So it's kind of like a 4-part question.
Yes. So you're right. The perimenopause is the storm before the calm. Yeah. Menopause tends to be a little bit more calm and, you know, has different symptoms, but generally they're not as erratic, we'll say. So with perimenopause, you know, you can have a collection of, everyone has their own flavor of perimenopause, and some don't experience many symptoms and some experience all the symptoms. And part of that can be genetic. So, you know, a lot of conditions have a genetic component to it. It's not everything. Lifestyle is also huge, right? So you're going to have worse symptoms if you are smoking tobacco, if you drink a lot of alcohol, if you're not taking care of your sleep, all of those pieces, nutrition, managing blood sugar. So all of the lifestyle pieces, which, to be honest, when you're in perimenopause tend to go to hell in a handbasket anyway. So it's kind of hard because it's like the chicken or the egg. Is this, you know, a lifestyle issue, or is it that you're having sleep issues from the hormonal changes that's then causing all of these other things to happen?
Right.
So you do need a multi-pronged approach to help people feel well through this transition. And sometimes, you know, we don't know why certain people experience more severe symptoms. Trauma is another one, like, you know, early childhood trauma. Women who have experienced sexual trauma tend to have worse symptoms. So there's lots of things that kind of feed into that. But I think the most important thing is, you know, as women, we're very good at diminishing our own symptoms and just saying, you know, it's fine, just push through. Don't ignore your symptoms. You know, as minimal as they may be, they're a sign that your body is telling you something is off. And it also affects your quality of life. You know, why would you want to live with itchy ears or, you know, whatever it may be? Yeah. Everyone has their own threshold. So I'm sorry, I don't know if I got all the multi-pronged question there.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think so. And you're right. We tend to just make it our new normal and just be like, well, this is the way it is now. And I guess this is my new body. And this is I guess I don't sleep anymore. And I guess I just don't remember things, right? Yeah. So what can you suggest? You touched on nutrition and lifestyle. Yeah. And I agree. Like, you know, when I'm working with clients, if, you know, you can have all the pillars of health, right? You can have the nutrition piece, the movement exercise piece, the stress management piece, and the sleep piece, right? And I find that if you could be eating all the gorgeous salads and beautiful smoothies all day long, and you've got your gym pass and you're working out and all things, but if you don't sleep, your whole next day is a write-off, right? You're making poor dietary choices, your brain's not functioning, right? Yeah. So all the things. But so sleep is one of the questions that I get a lot that I'm sure many women are going to want to know. what do you suggest for that really huge pillar of health, which is better sleep?
Yes, that's always my first thing that I address is sleep because, as you said, like it's really challenging for people to make healthy choices when they're tired. It's harder to, reach for an apple versus a quick sugar fix.
Right.
And everything tends to go downhill when sleep is suffering. So, number one is treat underlying reasons for sleep disturbances. And the most common reason for that in perimenopause is hot flashes or night sweats, right? People are waking up because they're hot. And I often get women who they're not sweating, right? They're not waking up drenched, but they do experience some heat. And any fluctuation in body temperature will cause your body to wake up at night. We're really sensitive to temperatures in the nighttime. So basic lifestyle things that you can do is make sure your room is cool, wear loose fitting clothing, make sure you're having cotton blankets, anything that's synthetic is going to trap heat. Open a window if you have to, put a fan on. These types of things are really helpful. Hormone therapy can also be an option for a lot of people that will basically eliminate those hot flashes if that's the reason why you're waking up. I also get the other pattern. There's the other pattern of women who have a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, and that's preventing them from sleeping. So then it's addressing that, right? Like working on how can we reduce the stress or just deal with it in a healthier way.
Okay.
Exercise is also a great option for improving sleep, going for a nice long walk before bed, routines. There's so many things that we can do, but the basics I would say is treat the underlying condition, whatever is causing you to wake up. Number two is lifestyle things. So, having a routine, going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, making sure you're not on your phone right before bed, which a lot of people are doing, scrolling, which actually wakes you up more and prevents melatonin production. Cool room, the environment has to be conducive for sleep. And then we have lots of other tools. I mean, naturopathic doctors will use herbs or nutraceuticals to support that. But that's kind of like the basics for sleep. And then, you can go above and beyond and keep expanding from there.
Yeah, yeah, those are all really great suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
I've cycled through sage, red clover. Um, oh, see,
Brain fog.
I don't remember what else, but yeah,
Yeah,
I find cycling through them works really well for me. I'll do like some of them
yeah.
in a tea form, like a passion flower holy basil tea. I'll do reishi mushrooms sometimes just to sort of
Mm-hmm.
for that stress component, right, for nervous
Absolutely.
system. But
Yeah.
yeah, those are all really great suggestions. Now you mentioned HRT
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that it can take that all away. So explain to us, for those of us who are not on HRT,
Mm-hmm.
or are considering it, or have some fears about it. I know
Yeah.
that there are different types of HRT, bioidentical hormones. Now, are we calling it HRT or
HT.
MHT?
Yeah, so the old term is HRT, hormone replacement therapy.
Okay.
The newer term is menopausal hormone therapy because you're not technically replacing the hormones. You're not getting to a level, you're not going to your 30-year-old hormonal self. That's not what we're trying to achieve. It's a low dose, lower than the birth control pill amount of hormone that will be enough to prevent illness and to decrease symptoms. So it's basically the lowest effective dose of the three main hormones are estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. There is a huge amount of options within that. So you have forms of hormone, you have topical, gels, patches, oral, pellets, injections. Like there's so many different options, but I think that the main question that I get when people are asking about HRT is it safe,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which for the majority of women out there who don't have any other illnesses and they're relatively healthy, yes, the answer is yes, it's safe. The benefits far outweigh the risks of hormone therapy. I always compare it to birth control because it's like we give birth control out like candy. It's like
Yeah.
birth control for you and for you, like 14-year-old girls. And yet the informed consent is not always there for birth control, and it has way greater risks than hormone therapy.
Okay.
But because of that one study that was done back in the 90s, and it, ended early in 2000, it freaked everybody out because of the breast cancer.
Right.
But in reality, most forms of hormone therapy, especially if we're talking about bioidentical, meaning it's the same as what our body makes, there's no increased risk of breast cancer. And the formulas that we use now are much safer. We're using topical estrogen, which also reduces risk of clotting. So by and large, it's mostly safe for people. You will have to go to someone to get a prescription for hormone therapy. So usually they're doing a risk assessment in the office, right? They're asking you about your habits, like smoking. Do you have any other conditions, diabetes or heart disease? And that kind of will inform whether it's safe for that individual person.
Got it.
Yeah. The next question I get is, bioidentical or synthetic. So, because it's such a big umbrella term, MHT, that is often a question that I ask. What's the difference? Is there something that's better or worse? And the main thing is that it's not that there's better or worse, it's just different flavors for different people, right? Some people do better with the bioidentical, which is same as what our body produces. I think of it as like, those kid games that have the blocks, like triangle goes in the triangle and the square goes in the square. It's like, it just works perfectly for our body, right? Progesterone is progesterone and it binds the progesterone receptor. But when we're talking about synthetic hormones, the molecule is slightly different. And so you're still binding, but you're more likely to have adverse effects and side effects with synthetic hormones.
Sure. That makes sense.
But there are benefits to using certain synthetics like bleeding control, right? So you mentioned women in perimenopause sometimes have excessive bleeding. And progestins, which is the synthetic progesterone, are generally better at controlling bleeding than progesterone.
Got it.
So these are all kind of considerations that we take into account when someone comes in and, we're looking at the plethora of the symptoms and how can we manage the most of this effectively with the least amount of intervention.
Right.
Is
Okay.
that, yeah.
Now, because estrogen is a protective hormone, right? And so during menopause, and I guess perimenopause can be included here, as it's declining,
Yeah.
that's what puts us at greater risk for Alzheimer's, bone density loss.
Yeah.
Oh man, whatever else estrogen is protecting us from.
Yes.
So would you say it's beneficial to start MRT before you're even in menopause?
Yes. As soon as you are experiencing symptoms, it's something to consider. Everyone should have that option and they can make the correct choice for their own body. But as soon as you start, even if it's late 30s and you're experiencing sleep disturbances and mood changes and, maybe slight cycle variation, you can start MHT. Generally, the sooner the better. We don't typically give hormones, initiate hormones in women over 60. So it's always got to be within 10 years of menopause. So if you became menopausal at 52, you have until 62 to start hormones and have it really be beneficial for you. You can start in perimenopause, and that can absolutely help with with symptom management. But some people will wait, or, they didn't have any symptoms until they're fully menopausal, and now they're having, ear itching or vaginal dryness, pain with sex, these types of things.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So no risk to starting it before you're in menopause.
No.
Hey, excellent. Now, how do you feel about phytoestrogens for anyone, or what else can you recommend for women who don't want to do MRT?
Yes. Phytoestrogens can be really helpful.
MHT.
Yeah, MHT. Yeah, blending the two.
Sure.
Phytoestrogens, you probably have a better grasp on explaining that, right? Because it's the plant estrogens that are in a number of different foods and as well as herbs, right? Red clover is a good example of that, flax seeds, soy. But some people aren't able to convert the phytoestrogen into the compound that basically reduces the symptoms. So I will say it doesn't work for everybody.
Okay.
I mean, there's no harm in including, a little bit more flax in your diet.
Right.
Extra,
I mean, it's a good omega-3. And you have to eat a lot of these things to get the benefits of SEA and MHT, right?
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hormone therapy is not a panacea. Some people will come into my office and they're just dying for hormones. And yes, that will help with symptoms. But if you have a poor diet and you're not sleeping, or you have an inconsistent pattern to sleep, and you're not drinking water and you're not exercising, it's not going to undo all of those things. So you
Right.
do still need a solid foundation to stand on for entering the menopause, postmenopausal years in health.
Yeah.
And a great example is the menobelly, right? That's having a moment
Yes.
online. Everyone's talking
Yes.
about the menobelly. And a lot of women will come in and they're like, I need estrogen because that's gonna, fix my menobelly. But it's not, it's not gonna be like an Ozempic and boom, you have no belly anymore.
Right.
As you said, the body composition will change. Our peak bone mass is reached at around 25.
Mm-hmm.
And so from 25 onwards, if you're not building muscle and building bones actively, you are losing it. And that's kind of why people all of a sudden they wake up and they're like, oh, all of a sudden I have a belly. Like it kind of came overnight. And it didn't. You just didn't notice it until it passed that threshold.
Right.
So you're losing muscle mass, you're losing bone mass, which means your metabolic rate is declining. And even if you're eating the same and exercising the same, you will gain weight because you now have a lower metabolic rate, and that's going to be deposed as fat.
Yeah.
So I kind of got off track there, but all that to say is that, there's lots of other things that people can do to manage symptoms.
Okay.
Hot flashes being the most common symptom. Not everybody gets hot flashes, but things that will trigger hot flashes: caffeine, alcohol, going from hot temperature to cold temperature. So if you're doing, cold plunges or saunas or things like that might trigger things for you. Wearing heavy clothing. So all of these things are still important to consider, and it might be enough because you might have mild hot flashes to mitigate those symptoms without needing to add hormones. Or maybe you can't have hormones because you've had, breast cancer. And so
Right.
we're not giving hormones to women who've had breast cancer. And so we have to use other strategies to mitigate that for them.
Can you briefly explain the whole menobelly and why it's happening?
Yes. So multiple things are happening all at once. One, you're losing estrogen, and estrogen doesn't cause weight gain or weight loss. It just changes the distribution of where the weight is. So when you're in your peak reproductive years, fat is generally deposed in women, or in estrogen dominant people, on the hips, on the boobs, arms, right? More of that kind of hourglass figure for childbearing. And as soon as you lose estrogen, you get a redistribution of the fat, and it generally goes more into the abdomen, so more of like an apple shape,
Mm-hmm.
a male pattern deposition of fat, because men typically don't get, hips and boobs. It all goes to the gut. And
Unless they drink a lot of beer.
that exactly, yes, absolutely. There's the phytoestrogen.
That's a phytoestrogen, yeah.
And then you have that going on, and you also have the loss of bone mass and muscle mass over time if you're not actively building muscle. And that alters the metabolic rate, which then causes more fat to be deposed. And because it's not going to your hips or your boobs, it's going to go to the abdomen. And the problem with abdominal deposition of fat is that some of it becomes visceral fat, which is our bad fat. The subcutaneous fat, the fat that's squishy and just below the surface, maybe it's not aesthetically pleasing. It doesn't maybe look nice, but it's not doing any harm.
Yeah.
So
That's
the fat,
kind you can pinch.
exactly, the pinchy fat and the squishy fat, but the hard internal fat, that a lot of people will explain this, that like, I feel bloated all of the time. Right? Like it's almost like they don't think that they've gained weight. Well, they have, but they're like, it just feels like bloating. And that's visceral fat. That's the fat that's wrapped around the organs, and that's causing further damage, insulin resistance, and it just kind of creates this vicious cycle of then more fat gain in that center.
Yeah.
So that's generally, yeah.
Yeah, and that's hard to see. Like that's the fat you can't pinch, right? Like we call that the skinny fat, right? You
Yes,
can be lean, but you could have all that visceral fat packed in around your organs. And
exactly.
yeah, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So if a woman is starting to feel symptoms or she's already in menopause,
Hmm.
there's still lots that we can, do today to minimize the severity of symptoms
Yes.
through diet, lifestyle, quality sleep, stress management.
Hmm.
Um, and I know that, shifting to, we keep hearing eat more protein. And of course, I'm a nutritionist and I'm preaching that as well. But as a doctor, I'd love for you to explain how that's going to work for us and maybe just give us a few takeaways that women can start today, no matter where they are on this menopause journey, to, set ourselves up for success down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, the protein thing is twofold. Protein absolutely is important. I find women struggle to get protein. I've seen these things online where it's like when the husband is out and you're just having a bowl of pasta and there's no no protein there because the men usually want the protein. One is that it's important for building muscle and maintaining that body composition that you want. You don't want the meno belly. You want, strong muscles and getting rid of that visceral fat. So protein is essential for that. It also, during the menopause transition, during perimenopause, our carb tolerability declines. And that's because insulin resistance increases. And that basically means the body has a little bit more challenge storing glucose, blood sugar, right? So oftentimes I'll see blood sugar start to creep up in women, and that's kind of the preamble to type 2 diabetes. And protein helps to stabilize blood sugar, so it keeps your energy, stable through the day. But it also can help you replace some of the carbohydrates, which might be giving you energy, quick energy, on your plate. And this is not, for everybody, but by and large, most women, need to reduce their carbohydrate intake, especially the processed carbohydrates. So all your white foods, right? White pasta, white bread,
The starchy ones.
all the starchy stuff, the baked goods, the croissants, and increase their slow carbs, your sweet potatoes, your whole grains, quinoa, and increase the protein. And you can just start that today. Eat breakfast. Eat breakfast.
Yeah.
Lots of people are not eating breakfast, right? And then they're like, I'm so tired by afternoon. Well, you're not setting yourself up for success.
Yeah. And that's a big challenge for women who are feeling all of these body composition changes, energy dips, lack of sleep. Our brain says we need to cut carbs, we need to maybe fast more, let's skip breakfast, let's just eat one meal a day, or let's work out harder, all of these things, right? And really that's having the opposite effect. It's causing more cortisol, we're storing more fat because of it. So yeah, eating breakfast, eating 3 meals a day consistently, and when those are balanced meals, you shouldn't be looking for snacks in between those meals. Let that insulin come down, and I find that that's when we tap into the fat burning. But
yes, I mean, you probably attest to this, but I find that I think a big issue is the confusion, right? Everyone is so confused of what they should be doing.
yeah.
So I don't know how you combat that with your clients, but I generally try to steer people away from diets, right? It needs to be sustainable. It needs to be able to work for you long term. And everybody's a little bit different. So there is a little bit of experimenting that needs to go on, try different foods, see how you feel with them.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
I actually work with a program called Metabolic Balance, which it's individualized. So the program is based on 36 of your blood values.
Mm.
And a whole list of foods are prescribed to get you back into metabolic balance in their perfect portion. So this much protein for breakfast, this much healthy fat, this list of non-starchy veggies,
Mm-hmm.
and from that list of foods, you get to build your own meals basically. But it's about balancing insulin, reducing inflammation, and then the weight loss is just a side effect.
Yes.
But it's interesting, your blood doesn't lie. So it's a good way to it's a good start. It's a good kind of roadmap and foundation for giving your body what it needs at different stages of your life, and
Mm-hmm.
it takes into account medications, health history, symptoms, things like that. Like if we check off menopause symptoms on your intake, you're going to see some phytoestrogens on there and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's mostly about the insulin and just sort of learning how to create those a perfectly balanced meal for your body without going hungry.
Yeah.
So that's
Important.
the program I use. But yeah, I mean, for anyone who doesn't want to do a program or is not on a program,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, getting in, it's all about balance again, right? The protein, which doesn't have to be meat,
Yeah.
lots of plant-based proteins out there or
Mm-hmm.
fish. Um, Getting in that little bit of healthy fat with each meal is vital to our hormone production, skin, brain, eyes, our joints,
Yes.
and plenty of fiber.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't go wrong.
Absolutely. And decrease the alcohol.
And decrease the alcohol, yes. I mean, I'm doing dry January, but I think I'm just going to keep going. I feel
Yeah.
fabulous and I can't stop talking. I mean, I'm just like, my energy's gone through the roof.
Yes. I think that alcohol is often used as a coping strategy, right? People feel stressed and tired and they want to have a glass of wine at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But then it just, again, you get into these kind of negative cycles,
Yeah.
right? And so
And
then
you're
you need your
really,
uppers in the morning,
yeah,
downers at night. Yeah. So that's a big thing. It's not just about including all the healthy foods, but also eliminating
yeah,
the bad. And alcohol really is a detriment to sleep and to hormonal health.
it really is.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah. I mean, I'm Italian, so, we drink a little wine with dinner, but
Yeah.
I just can't. I just can't anymore. It's really starting to affect my sleep. So yeah. Anywho, so speaking of, this is a good place to end.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of resources, as you just mentioned, there's a lot of noise out there and a lot of AI and fake things and, Dr. Google. Where can women go to learn more about menopause, perimenopause, this whole journey that we're on,
Mm-hmm.
inevitably?
Yes.
Um, Trusted resources like yourself. And where do you suggest we go to advocate for ourselves? Because I think you might agree, education is key, right? Knowing as much as we can, questions to ask, all of these
Mm-hmm.
things are really important for our own health, taking it into our own hands. So what do you
Yeah.
suggest?
So I always suggest people start with the Menopause Society. So it's menopause.org. And if you're not in British Columbia, you're somewhere else in the world, you can go on there and find a Menopause Society certified provider. So, if you're looking for one-on-one care, a doctor that can prescribe you something or knows about menopause and has done that extra education, that is a great place to start. They also have tons of reading material on there for, people who are interested on hormone therapy or non-hormonal options, hot flashes. They have lots of stuff on there. So that's a great place to start. I'm a Menopause Society certified practitioner, so a lot of my patients will find me through that search part of the website. I also love Dr. Mary Claire. She's huge. I have her book right here. She's coming out with another book.
I'm
Um,
listening to her podcast. It's fabulous.
yeah, so she's a great resource. Dr. Kelly Casperson, also a great resource for more urogynecological issues, bladder incontinence, etc. So there's a lot of great experts out there. Dr. Rachel Rubin is another one. And then for myself, I also have, not on my website, I do have some blogs on my website, but I do send out a newsletter every 2 weeks. And menopause is part of that. So I try to, offer some education around hormones, around what you can do for sleep, all these types of things. And that's completely free. So people can sign up and receive those emails and get some free tips. I also have a menopause course that talks about, all the different symptoms and how we manage those things, and hoping to revamp that this year to include more information. So though right there, there's a lot of
Amazing.
options. Yeah,
Great.
but definitely I would stay away from like TikTok unless that the person is credible. There's
Yeah.
a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah, there sure is. Yeah. Those are great resources. And tell everyone your website.
Yes, my website is dralexdragan.com. So DRALEXDRAGAN.com.
GAN.
GAN,
Yeah.
not like the animal, the mythical creature.
Okay.
Everything is on there, so you can find my research.
Fabulous.
And yeah.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, thank you for
Ooh,
giving us lots of amazing insight and answering the questions that we're all asking and wondering about and searching for. So this is a great start, and I think we have probably enough material and questions that we could probably do this like once a week.
honestly,
Right?
we'll just keep going. There's
Yeah.
so many things, right?
Yeah.
The midlife
Yeah.
care. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dr.
Thank
Alex.
you. Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Okay.
great.
Thanks for tuning in.
Okay, bye.